It felt like a dream come true. A $300 million inheritance and our very own company, Emily exclaimed. As Mary celebrated their father's inheritance, whispers among the employees began to spread. The staff was overjoyed, and Mary declared triumphantly, "Quiet down. This marks the moment my husband inherits the company and $3 million." One of the employees burst into uncontrollable laughter upon hearing this. Beside his bewildered wife, my elder brother sat, reading the will presented by the lawyer. His face turned pale as he scanned the pages. "Look at this," he said, showing it to her. She let out a scream. "I'm Lucy, 29 years old, and I've been working in my father's business since I was young. He started it from scratch with great foresight, and it has grown into a modest-sized enterprise with many employees. Even in its infancy, I understood the hardships my father faced," Lucy reflected. "Despite the company's growth, I wanted to support my mother, who handled clerical duties behind the scenes. While my parents encouraged me to pursue higher education and any career path I chose, my heart was set on working for the company my father built," she recalled, reminiscing about her decision after graduating high school. "Bob, a seasoned employee, became my first mentor when I joined my father's company. He patiently taught me the business fundamentals without seeing me solely as the president's daughter. Thanks to Bob, I gained a deeper understanding of the company." In contrast, my brother Tom, just 2 years older, pursued a management degree in college. From a young age, he proudly told his friends that our father ran a business and that he was destined to take over. Tom's friends often asked, "What are your plans after college, Tom? Are you looking for a job?" "No need to search. I'll be joining Dad's company. I'll become its president eventually, so until then, I'll gain management experience at my own pace." "You're set to be the next president. Sounds like a secure future." "I envy you," one friend remarked. "But what about your younger sister? Won't there be competition for the successor role?" "I have a younger sister, but she's just a high school graduate, simple." "You say that a lot. She seems to handle some behind-the-scenes tasks at the company. If I become president, I'll keep her around as long as she listens to me." While my brother spent money and played at being a business manager in training, he knew his position drew attention. Countless women saw him out because of his future as the company's president. My brother chose Mary, the most flamboyant and attractive woman, as his wife. After an extravagant wedding, Tom and Mary embarked on a luxurious honeymoon abroad, built a mansion, and began their married life. All of this, he claimed, was part of securing his path to becoming company president. Mary seemed content in her new life with Tom, who fulfilled her every desire and allowed her to indulge in life's luxuries. "I doubt she'd want a life like mine, quietly working behind the scenes with Mom in Dad's company." "Lucy, you don't exactly look like the CEO's daughter," she remarked. "You don't fit the image of a president's daughter." Mary often chuckled when we met at family gatherings. "I prefer a simpler lifestyle," I replied. She regarded me as though I were. "It's a pity you were born into the president's family but have no idea how to enjoy wealth. Living comfortably at home with my parents means I don't have to work as hard. But with your status as the president's daughter, shouldn't men be lining up for you?" My brother nodded. "That's true. Lucy's always been modest, so no one would guess her father's the president. She treats everyone at work the same. I admit, there's still a lot about my job I don't fully grasp. Many of my colleagues excel far more than I do, so I can't act like I'm in charge," I countered. But my brother looked astonished and said, "That's why you're ineffective. A leader should stand firm so they're respected by their subordinates, not pitied. Let others handle the simple, mundane tasks." It seems Dad and I are the only ones who understand leadership in this family. "Never underestimate your team, no matter your position," my father interjected, cutting off my brother and looking annoyed. "A sensible woman isn't always well received by men." Mary chimed in after my brother. "If you keep talking like that, you'll never find a husband. You should work on being more appealing." "Don't you agree, Tom?" "Yeah. Well, when I'm president, I might have to let go of modest employees like you," Tom retorted. After their brief remarks, my brother and Mary swiftly departed. My mother, who had observed in silence, comforted me once they were gone. "You're doing an outstanding job at the company, which greatly supports both me and your father. Don't let Tom's words trouble you," she assured me. My father nodded firmly, his expression stern. They had openly disagreed with Tom's aspirations before, but this time, after their confrontation, Tom and Mary noticeably avoided visiting our home for over a month. I remembered the tense atmosphere during that period and suggested to my parents, Tom and Mary can say what they want. After that incident, Tom and Mary continued living luxuriously, dining at exclusive restaurants and vacationing at prestigious resorts, all to bolster Tom's future as the presumed president of my father's company. My father was busy expanding his business at that time, but one evening at home, he suddenly complained of chest pain. "Dad, are you okay? Try to relax. I'll call an ambulance." "Lucy, fetch this." As we awaited the ambulance, my father gestured towards a drawer and mentioned he had a letter for me. I quickly retrieved it from the drawer. "I want you to read this if anything happens to me," he said, breathless, just before losing consciousness. Despite our efforts and the ambulance rushing him to the emergency room, he passed away without regaining consciousness. Tom and Mary were away on a trip and couldn't be there when our father passed. They returned 2 days later. At the end of our father's funeral, Tom remarked, "We're relieved we made it in time. I never expected Dad would pass while we were away." I was taken aback. They arrived at the funeral seemingly unconcerned, not acknowledging the burden my mother and I bore in organizing everything. I pulled my brother aside to ask him privately, away from the ears of the present employees. "Couldn't you have come home sooner?" I questioned. "What? I couldn't. I had already booked our return flight," my brother replied, without offering an apology. Then he turned to address the employees. "Thank you all for your assistance. From now on, I will honorably step into my father's shoes," he declared. Mary surveyed the now silent employees and praised, "That's exactly what Tom would do. Everyone is speechless because they're so impressed, right? It's only natural, given my husband's dignity." With pride, my brother turned to me and said, "Lucy, isn't the ceremony about to begin? Please lead the way." I felt irritated by my brother's tardiness and arrogance. Despite my feelings, I guided him, along with Mary and the employees, to the banquet table for the meal ceremony. Throughout the meal, my brother continued to display his arrogance. "Isn't the quality of this food questionable, Lucy? It reflects poorly on our father's legacy as president," he criticized. "Mother and I have already discussed and agreed upon the menu. Besides, I don't appreciate you telling me what to do. This is exactly why people misunderstand what it means to be president," I retorted. He not only directed his comments at me but also began giving orders to the other employees serving the guests. "You're useless," he remarked dismissively. I hurried over upon hearing Tom order Bob, a longtime employee, around. "Tom, that's too much. You can't treat Bob like that. It's disrespectful." "Why should I humble myself in front of an employee?" I argued. "These people should show more respect to me as the president," he insisted. Mary joined in, adding enthusiastically, "Exactly. Stop undermining Tom, the company's president, Lucy. If you keep defying him, he could fire you. He has the authority." Just as my brother and his wife continued their assertiveness, a man interrupted. "I apologize for the interruption. Your father had entrusted me with overseeing his estate," he announced. He was the lawyer my father had hired while he was still alive. Then I remembered. Shortly before his passing, my father had mentioned he had engaged a lawyer. It seemed he had been preparing for his death and had consulted with a lawyer years earlier. My brother and Mary's eyes lit up at the mention of the estate. They eagerly welcomed the lawyer into their midst. Tom said, "Thank you for coming. The sooner we handle this, the better. Please come in." But as he conversed with the lawyer, Tom's demeanor shifted. Wasn't Dad's estate valued at $300 million? Upon hearing this, Mary couldn't contain her excitement. $300 million? That much in assets that now belong to us? It's like a dream. The news spread among the employees, causing whispers to ripple through the room. Mary proudly declared, "Everyone, quiet down. This marks the moment when the company, along with its $300 million inheritance, passes to Tom." One of the employees burst into uncontrollable laughter upon hearing this. Beside Mary, my brother received the will and began reading it. Confusion spread across Mary's face as she tried to grasp the situation. My brother's expression turned ashen as he read aloud. "Mary, according to the will, the entire company is to be inherited by the eldest daughter, Lucy," he announced, staring at the document in disbelief. He continued, "This can't be. This isn't right." The lawyer interjected in a troubled tone. "This is a legally binding will." My brother's voice trembled with anger. "What? I don't believe this. How can Lucy become president instead of me? Mary interjected, her tone dismissive. Perhaps your father's judgment was clouded by old age. A will made by someone senile is invalid. Those words struck a nerve, and I couldn't bear to hear them insult my father's memory any longer. Enough. The idea of my brother becoming president is even more absurd in my opinion. My brother's face flushed with anger. What are you implying? That I'm not fit to be president, he retorted sharply. You make a valid point. How can you expect to lead this company when you've never contributed to its success? I countered. Don't be ridiculous. Mary and I built a mansion befitting a president and went to great lengths to create the image, he argued. Building an extravagant mansion and dining at fancy restaurants don't enhance the company's reputation or profitability. It's just money. Didn't Dad cover most of the costs for those luxuries? How could you not know that? I retorted. Before he passed away, Dad left me a letter detailing all the financial support he provided for you. He made it clear it was a gift during his lifetime. As a result, your share of the estate is practically nothing, I informed them. Mary looked alarmed upon hearing this. Hold on. Wasn't the inheritance valued at $300 million? Have we already spent all of it? This doesn't seem fair that we have so little left. The employee who had laughed earlier stepped forward and clarified for Mary, the $300 million is the company's valuation, not personal assets. I believe everyone here understands that. Wait, company money can't be inherited, can it? Mary asked. No, it can't. The funds from the company aren't part of the family inheritance. So, I suspect my brother's share is minimal, I clarified. Oh no, Lucy was completely taken aback. The inheritance, $300 million. Mary gasped. My brother suddenly stood up as if struck by a revelation. He addressed the employees angrily. Do you really want a plain woman like Lucy as your company president? I am clearly more qualified. I possess the same charisma as my father. But none of his colleagues agreed with him. Bob stepped forward and calmly engaged my brother. Your father was indeed charismatic and founded this company. However, you and he are not the same person. What you display is arrogance, not charisma, Bob argued firmly. My brother's anger flared as Bob continued to refute him calmly. Tom, you may be the president's son, but we rarely see you around here. That's because I haven't had the time to work for the company. I've been busy networking, Tom retorted. Networking? Trips and dining out constitute networking. Bob pressed on. Lucy has been diligently learning about the company and quietly handling her behind-the-scenes responsibilities every day. I see the same dedication in her as in your father. Lucy is the right person for the job, as agreed upon by all of us here, Bob concluded. The other employees nodded in agreement with Bob's words. Touched by their support, I replied, Thank you all very much. I must admit, this news comes as a surprise to me. But having seen my father's passion for this company firsthand, I share the same dedication. I look forward to working together with all of you. The employees warmly applauded as I bowed deeply, emboldened by their encouragement. I continued firmly, each of you here is a valued friend who has contributed greatly to our company. Anyone who disregards that is not fit to be an employee, let alone the president who can hire or fire. My brother grew visibly irritated upon hearing this. What are you talking about? I'm your brother. You mentioned before that you would fire me if you became president, I reminded him. I can't afford to keep an incompetent employee on payroll just because we're family. This is ridiculous. Someone, please say something, my brother pleaded. Seeing no support for him, my brother and Mary left abruptly. Tom lost his job and soon exhausted the small inheritance he had received. Lucy, can you lend me some money? My brother asked. I was appalled by my brother's behavior. Even after losing his job, he made no effort to find new employment and continued relying on our family for support. I firmly instructed my mother not to give him any money. His once supportive friends abandoned him upon learning of his dismissal from the presidency to his sister. Mary, who had married my brother envisioning herself as the wife of the company president, found no sympathy from her circle of friends. As their expenses became unsustainable, my brother and his wife decided to sell their mansion. While the proceeds from the house sale provided temporary relief and allowed them to maintain their lifestyle for a while, the lack of steady income quickly depleted their savings. With their resources depleted, they struggled to cover basic living expenses. Eventually, they reluctantly sought work, only to find doors closed to them due to their lack of prior employment. Tom eventually secured a part-time position at a convenience store, a role unfamiliar to him. He faced criticism from younger part-time colleagues who found his performance lacking. Mary, no longer able to maintain her previous lifestyle as a full-time housewife, took on part-time work as a supermarket cashier from morning till night, earning a modest monthly income. In contrast, drawing on my experience from behind-the-scenes work, I actively contributed to the company's growth alongside Bob and other dedicated employees. The company began to thrive steadily. Ironically, my brother's situation inadvertently fostered greater unity among the employees. Determined to honor our father's legacy, I pledged to continue working alongside my mother to expand the business, aiming to bring pride to our Father in heaven.